The experience of job seeking could possibly be described as a survival of the fittest, from being at the mercy of recruitment agencies to filling out hard copy or even online forms. The ordeal is an eye-opener to the many perils of gaining employment in Nigeria. It is an aspect that can be quite, unpleasant, but more challenging for job seekers is the many daunting requirements one passes through at the hands of employers of labor. While some expect a minimum level of experience in a seemingly crowded labor market or even lack of job opportunities, others raise undue expectations on age requirements that sometimes limit the chances of prospective candidates. A predicament placed on the Nigerian youth with the requisite qualification, knowledge, skills, and is ready to work, but disqualified or excluded on the sole ground that he or she is above the age limit. With this, the never-ending stories of frustration in the job market abound, creating immense population of job seekers to rise, and just like some would attest, it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for employers of labor to give job seekers easy passage for gainful employment. However, this might be a thing of the past with the recent move by the Senate to restrict and discourage public and private employers from depriving millions of job seekers of opportunity on account of age. This came to the fore on the floor of the Senate Wednesday, sequel to consideration and adoption of a motion sponsored by Abba Moro. How expedient is this? And how will this level of intervention assist in improving chances of job seekers in gaining meaningful employment in Nigeria? Age limits and job opportunities in Nigeria is our focus on the program today. Welcome to Nigeria Today. I am Vicaria Clinton. Joining me to discuss the topic, age limits and job opportunities in Nigeria, is Wale Smart Oyerinde, Director General, Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA. He joins us via Zoom. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening.
Also joining the discussion here in the studio with me is Afolake Agumbiadi, Industrial and Organizational Psychologist. Glad to have you in Nigeria Today.
Awesome to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'll start with you, Afolake. The Senate has urged employers of labor in the country to de-emphasize age requirements as a precondition for employment. How do you perceive this?
Well, it's an interesting one. For one, with my job experience and the area of consulting I work in as an organizational psychologist, I have discovered over the years that people still tweak their age, whether or not there is a restriction. So when you ask people to come in for a job opportunity and they fill in their CVs or their employment forms, as the case may be, but by the time you see someone who claims to be 25 years old, we all know that your age tells what it is, and you're asking them, what year were you born? How old are you now? And they get confused. It's a phenomenon in Nigeria that people use football age generally. So the advent of this would help people be more comfortable with their age, regardless of what role they are, looking to get out there. Mm-hmm. It would also create a form of stability in the work atmosphere. As a consultant, most times I tell employers that when you put an age restriction on a particular role, what you're saying is that there is a level of maturity you can also get for that role. So I think it makes it better. However, it also has its flip side.
We'll get to the flip side very, very soon. But let me bring in our other guest, Wale. Wale, she's said quite, it's a welcome development, however, she says. But then, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, specifically Section 42, subsection 2, guarantees every citizen the right the right to freedom from discrimination. And why have we consistently seen a deviance to this, in all these years?
Well, as my co-guests have said, is neither here nor there. It's more of perception, than reality. Because in the real sense of it, beyond the definition of a child that we all know, and beyond the statutory requirement that before an individual will get a job in a formal employment, at least in the organized private sector, he or she must have finished a formal education as a graduate, probably have gone through the primary, secondary, whether gone through college or gone through the university system and graduated, and probably have a postgraduate degree, which will take the individual to the context of either 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years. At that point, he or she is seen or is adjudged to have gone through certain training that qualifies him for that employment. Now, the dichotomy, the issue we have is less of those in 21, 22, 23. I think it's more focused on the issue of those getting to 28, 29, 30, 31. Those are basically the contention. And really, in real terms, age doesn't necessarily guarantee or express the capacity. That you are 30 doesn't make you less capable, that you are 40 doesn't make you less capable. The issue for employer is this, and you must give this to the employers. Each businesses have what they call long-term, some call it succession planning. They call it long-term stability of their business. And because of the quantum of amount that is used in some industries to train staff, so the business might look at, how do I maintain long-term sustainability? How do I keep people in my system that can help me also to be sustainable within the context of the kind of skills that I have invested in? So you might feel, okay, look, getting a younger person will give me the guarantee or the privilege of having that person in my employment for a longer term. Now, those are the previous thinking. Now, with the Japa syndrome, that no matter how much you spend training someone, it doesn't guarantee that they will stay. The dynamics are changing. So employers too are more focused now on competence, on skills, and on value add. If you can add value, if you can add skills, if you can add something extra to the business, to help the business to be sustainable, I think that is where the conversation is currently going. And if you notice also, most of the industries, the banks, and some sectors that are hitherto dogmatic about the issue of age, is the narrative is changing currently. And everybody is accepting the fact that our socioeconomic situation now, where the university system is not very stable, so the chances that a graduate or an individual will finish university at 18, 19, 20.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oyerinde. We'll come back to you. I know you still have a lot to say there, but we'll bring in Afulake here. Now, you said there is a flip side. He said the dynamics are changing.
Yes.
They are asking for competence, skills, and the rest of them. It's no longer what it used to be because of course, we're having the Japa syndrome. So what exactly were you talking about when you said the flip side?
Okay. For me, I would say the flip side is innovation and creativity. We can no longer ignore that we're in the now of work, which was way back the future of work, that requires certain skill sets that are somehow subconsciously tied to certain age brackets. Artificial intelligence is one. Technology at certain levels is another. There are other skills that require, that are more common around certain age brackets. Now, you want to bring somebody who is in their 35 into the tech space, or into, I'm trying to, robotics, or into coding. That's the future of now. And whether we like it or not, the saying that you can't teach an old dog new tricks, to a large extent, behavior modification is very difficult. When you hit a certain age and you have, you know, you don't have a growth mindset, you have a fixed mindset towards technology and so many other advancements that currently are the trends around the Gen Zs. So how do you find that balance when you are looking and you are in certain industries that require upskilling in the area of technology, and you find people who are a bit more older who are not open to learning or upgrading themselves into the future of work, and employers are now obligated to hire such people? Okay. There will definitely be its challenges.
Okay. Now, still in you. Now, when we talk, I know you said quite a lot about, you know, people upgrading themselves, and while we have the younger people, you know, getting more opportunities than the older people. However, when we talk about industrial psychology, in what ways can you tell us have age, you know, affected young Nigerians, you know, seeking employment in various establishments?
Psychologically, it has done a lot. That is why you find people going ahead to have as many as possible birth record documentation to support each job they apply for. That's why you see people getting confused. They're trying to create a pool of opportunities for themselves in an industry or in a society that has an age bracket for everything. So you have people feeling marginalized. You have people feeling, you know, labeled. You have people being age shamed. You have people even being told because of their age that they are overqualified for roles. So it definitely would affect different people based on the scenario they're having to deal with. It's something that can, it kind of comes off as discriminatory. When at a certain age you even go for an interview and you are like in you're 45, you're married, you have kids, and you're sitting down with 23-year-olds, 24-year-olds, your self-esteem is already under the foot at that point in time, because you're like, they're not going to hire me. And trust me, whether we like it or not, most times in the interview room, these conversations come up. Oh, someone who has kids, if you're 35 and you're married, you have kids, or you're 40 and you know, you have only been in one job for 12 years, 13 years, 14 years, people start to label you. So it has its different effects on various people as the scenarios come.
Okay, we'll take a break now and bring you the thoughts of from the streets of some Nigerians on the issue of that we're talking about, the age limit and job opportunities in Nigeria, put together by Dennis Temple. Stay with us.
Now that Senate is coming out boldly to say they want to remove that age embargo, is a very welcome development. It's going to affect the system in a very long way.
So for me, age brackets, if they are removing it, fine, it's good. But it should be considered on the type of job that people are employed to do.
In other countries, by 16, 18, people are already working, you know. So why should it be different in Nigeria? Why do we have to get to a certain age before we can enter into civil and then public service?
National Assembly may go on and pass a bill that there should be no longer age limitation or maybe age limits to employment. But at the end of the day, the people in charge, either the executive that's supposed to implement that law, they are not doing what they're supposed to do. So the problem of Nigeria is not all about passing of bill or moving motions, but implementation.
Welcome back. It's still Nigeria today. We're talking about age limits and job opportunities in Nigeria. Now, I still have my guest here with me, a gentleman via Zoom, and of course, a lady here in the studio. Now, back to you, Mr. Yerinde. Now, if the executive agrees to this, this motion, job adverts in Nigeria will be, of course, mandated by law to no longer include age requirements. Will this in any way affect how would this affect generally? I mean, talking about our establishment employers and the rest of them. Just talk to us about this.
As she also said, we think there are more important issues to be addressed. As you can't legislate a job, you can't also legislate certain things concerning the job. We can't sit there in Abuja and say businesses don't do this, don't do that. I think what the Senate should have done is to legislate definitively on the ease of doing business. Legislate to make doing business easy, so that there will be massive job creation across board. When the supply of jobs outweighs the demand, then issue of age limit will naturally just be non-existent. But because we have this crisis of businesses operating in an environment that doesn't enable them to grow, then that shortage will continue. We really don't see anything happening. We feel it's just a populist kind of legislation that won't add value within the context of what is currently operational. People have ways that people have manipulated the system. We have all you have to do is probably go to the court to go and get an affidavit and get justification for whatever age you are touting, as she has said. But fundamentally, nothing different will happen, irrespective of the legislation. I think the most important thing we should do is to legislate for a favorable regulatory environment, a favorable legislative environment that will promote business growth. Once businesses are growing, then naturally the issue of age qualification will naturally just die a natural death. Okay,
back to you. I feel like it's quite. you heard what he said there about other issues.
Yeah.
But let me paint a scenario here. We have a scenario where a person goes to school, graduates. He or she doesn't get a job. He goes back to say, okay, let me go for further studies. Let me get a master's degree.
Yeah.
The person goes, gets a master's degree, hoping that, okay, I have more advantage. At least I'm more qualified than, the first degree person. Now, at the end of the day, you get there and you find out that you are, in quote, old for the job. I mean, how damaging can it be to the psyche of the prospective employee?
I must be honest with you, there are lots of things that are damaging in this part of the divide.
Tell us about them.
Well, of course, it's self-perception and self-confidence can be affected in such situations. If that person is not self-aware enough to know that a job does not define you, it could affect how they view themselves in the long run. If they have other issues, other salient issues that they're dealing with, depression, and so many other mental health and mental wellness issues, they might take it a little bit harder than most. However, this particular decision, like my co-guest said, is something, and someone in the Vox Box also said, is something that even after passing the laws, how do we ensure implementation? Because the private sector is quite larger than the public sector in Nigeria. The private sector is a huge employer of labor, including currently the knowledge economy. So if you go on social media, you see almost everyone teaching something. So there's a new economy, there's a new marketplace, there's a new way to sell your skills, which people need to start to explore beyond looking for conventional jobs. I'm a bit, I won't want to say narrow-minded, but from my experience, I've never been out of a job, not for one day. And I realized that the currency of making sure you are never disenfranchised when it comes to getting the job of your choice is upskilling every single time. And being able to use whatever you have to put yourself out there. I know people who've gotten jobs on social media. During COVID, it was a huge leveler. Everybody was online. If you chatted someone on LinkedIn, they would respond, I want to work in your company. Everyone was bored. So really, sometimes when we use the word discrimination or age bracket limitations, sometimes it's just the right skill to get you the employer that you're looking for. It's not necessarily that your age is putting you out. You might just not be placing yourself where you need to be to get what you want.
So in other words, you're talking about upgrading yourself.
Upgrading, upskilling, getting the skills of the now. Because honestly, let's not lie to ourselves. Gen Zs are very hard to manage. They can wake up today, come to work today, and tomorrow they say they're done.
When you say Gen Zs, please explain.
I mean people who are between, who are at this point, maximum 25, 26, which is the age bracket. If you look at the banking industry, they are the ones who carry a lot of the age bracket thing. Okay. 22, 23, maximum 25. However, this set of people have their own peculiarities that does not come with a certain level of maturity. So employers are really changing. Let's give it to employers. They are realizing that sometimes what you want is not what you need.
Okay. Now, back to you, Mr. Oyerinde. I will just go a little bit to, NECA. NECA was formed in 1957 to provide a forum for the government to consult with private sector employers on socioeconomic and labor policy issues. What level of impact will this move have on the labor market, and what do you envisage?
Well, as you said, just to comment on what you said earlier, when people go for masters now, it's not necessarily because predominantly because as a BSc holder, there is no real job in place really. So rather than stay at home, you just realize the easier option is let me just go for a postgraduate. And as I said, the age is as you are going for postgraduate, you are also growing. And because of the new trend now, because the younger age now, the young guys now, they also become very, very unpredictable. It surprises you that some organizations are also now looking up to those in the advanced age, those that have some level of stability, that can guarantee some level of staying. That somebody in 30, 35 has a higher potential of staying than somebody that is 22. Somebody that is 22, 21 can wake up tomorrow and carry his bag and say the work is finished. So the dynamic is changing, as she said. But for us, as I said earlier, there is no, we can't see any significant impact that this will make in the context of changing the dynamics of the labor market. We would rather have expected a more definitive legislation that will impact ease of doing business than making a cosmetic legislation about age, those don't really make the kind of, they won't make the kind of impact that we're expecting. So nothing for us will change. Business they are struggling now, and issue of age or no age is not even the issue that is of serious concern to organized businesses. Okay, so nothing fundamental will change, like many other legislation that we have seen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oyerinde. So, Afolake, your final advice.
Final advice, like he said, there are deeper issues. There are more salient issues. Let's create more jobs. Let's empower the economy to Allow people to create their own jobs. Rather than look for opportunities, let's make opportunities available with the right environment, and our job market will get better.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So far, it's been a good conversation. Thank you, Wole Smart Oyerinde, Director General, Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, NECA, for joining us. We also appreciate you, Folake Agumbiadi, Industrial Organizational Psychologist. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I had fun.
And also to our viewer, thank you so much for always being a part of this. I'm your carrier, Clinton. Goodbye.